Sports.
We are the Fourth. We are FC.
The Royals' magic number is 2. And the man acquired to help the Royals return to the World Series takes the mound tonight. Last night, the Royals celebrated with water and Gatorade. Will it be champagne tonight? Royals baseball is presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. The fans are filing into Kauffman Stadium, wondering if tonight is the night that the Royals will be division champs for the first time in 30 years. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the ballpark with Rex Hudler. I'm Ryan Lefevre. We have the mixture of the anticipation of a champagne celebration and the news that Greg Holland is done for the season with an elbow injury, and Joel and Monty will handle that in the next segment. So let's begin tonight how we finished last night, wondering if that walk-off victory was the game that gets the Royals back on track.
Let's hope that was, and I'm going to say yes officially, because they went through so much last night, but they showed their talent, and especially the most consistent hitters in the bunch. 1, 2, 3 hitters in that order all came through, and that's what you typically expect.
Yeah, we're hoping the team warms up. Those guys are starting to warm up, and we'll call them our most trusted players. Brought to you by the most trusted brand, Honda.
How about that 0 for 22 broken with a nice level swing? Silver's taking one for the team, and that low cane triangle slice right there was beautiful. Paulo Orlando showing his skill and his self-worth for this ball club with that speed. It's a special walk-off. There's no question about it. 6 walk-offs to go with Kane's number 6 jersey. Can't wait to see what we see tonight.
And another headline for tonight's game was Johnny Cueto's start in Detroit on Friday, the beginning of a nice run to the end of the regular season. We'll see. It's the final game of the series between the Royals and the Mariners.
Injury report takes a look at Greg Holland. He has over 30 saves on the year.
but he is done for the season and the postseason. The Royals shutting him down. He has what Nedio says is a significant tear in the ligament in his elbow. We'll get a second opinion tomorrow, but he is done, or next week, but he is done for the season. Joel Goldberg alongside of Royals Hall of Famer Jeff Montgomery. Disappointing to find this out. Greg Holland, one of the good guys and very productive for the Royals. Are you surprised at all by this?
Well, I'm not necessarily surprised. I'm very disappointed, but we know Greg Holland, as a competitor that he is, he kept going out there hopeful that he was able to perform at a level that would be acceptable. I think at the end they both decided it was not going to be the case.
No, he was trying to grind through it, has been grinding through it really all season long, but they finally hit a point where they needed to shut him down.
Going into the playoffs, my ability to get outs consistently and throw consecutive days in a row, you know, in a playoff scenario, you know, the coaching staff, you know, they weren't comfortable with, and you know, I wasn't really either of potentially going out there 2-3 days in a row.
And you could really sense the frustration in Greg Holland right there in those comments. And I know what he was going through. Very difficult when you're the guy that's a closer, expected to close games out, and you can't do it anymore.
Nedio said he would have kept going if they let him. I mean, that's the competitor to him, right?
Absolutely. He is a real bulldog, and he got by on Hart during the majority of the season.
Well, Johnny Cueto is ready to make his last home start of the regular season. Can he continue that momentum from last Friday? First pitch is next.
The Missouri Lottery. Every ticket you play gives back to schools across Missouri, so play it forward with the Missouri Lottery. And by your Kansas City Chevy dealers. Visit your local Chevy dealers today for great prices on all the new 2015 vehicles. And we have a nice spike in attendance tonight with fans anticipating the Royals clinching the American League Central Division. Seattle Mariners are just trying to finish strong. They were hoping to get to the playoffs this year. Some had picked them to go as far as the World Series, but right now all the Mariners can hope for is to finish at or above 500. They are 74-78 and having a very good September. And their lineup begins with the 21-year-old Ketel Marte. He's 5 for 9 in the series, and lately Johnny Cueto has had some trouble in the first inning. We'll get to that in a moment. Cueto's only made 6 career starts against the American League West. Look at that ERA, 1.07. He's only made 1 career start against Seattle, and that was back in 2010. Lately, Cueto and the Royals have had trouble in the first inning, and the Mariners had a big first inning, or at least the beginning of a big game in the first inning in Game 1. Our Academy Sports and Outdoors leaderboard. Johnny Cueto in his first 23 starts was just fine in the first inning, but in his last 6, look at that, an ERA of 12 and an opponent's batting average of almost 500.
Getting used to a new league, especially the American League, where 1 through 9 are all hitters. That's been a different adjustment for him. And you know, the first inning for every pitcher, whether you're young or old, it doesn't really matter. You have to find out what's working for you in that first. But for Cueto, down in the zone is what's going to work for him.
Here are the Royals defensively, presented by Ford, and Alcides Escobar is starting to look like Alcides Escobar again.
He is. He's starting to come around last 4 games. He's hitting over 400, and that's what they need for that production for that 9 spot for him to get on to the top of the order. But from a fielding standpoint, many believe this could be the year Escobar wins a Gold Glove.
There's the crew chief, Bill Miller. He's the second base umpire. He had a big strike zone in Game 1. Last night, Rob Drake's strike zone was a tighter strike zone. We'll see what Pat Hoberg has tonight. And Cueto's first pitch is a fastball in for a strike to Ketel Marte, who has an 11-game hitting streak. And he's 5 for 9 in this series with 2 triples. And now a quick pitch. He didn't get it by Cueto, who couldn't get it with the glove. He couldn't get it with the bare hand. And down he goes. It is a base hit for Marte, so give the rookie a 12-game hitting streak.
That's one of the things that Marte's working on, and that he wants to improve in his game. With that type of speed, the bunting ability that he learns up here at the big leagues is going to really help him. Now, he wanted to pull that with him a lot more. Cueto couldn't quite slow the game down and did a belly flop. He's going to slow it down a little bit, catch that ball first, but he got a little excited first hitter of the game, and he got a little Trevor turf on him.
And may have had the wind knocked out of him, and Eric Hosmer sensed that, so he's going to go over and give Cueto a little extra time to catch his breath.
Yeah, might have done it. You know, if you're a hitter like Marte, you love that. You want to test the pitcher. Cueto's a great athlete. He really bounces well, but just couldn't quite slow it down. And sure enough, looking at that again, he was winded. Take some time, catch your breath, and see if you can get Seager to ground into a double play. He's done it 16 times this year. Cueto's induced 14, so he's got ground ball ability if he keeps that ball down.
Kyle Seager had one of the 5 home runs that the Mariners hit in Game 1 of the series. He has 25 this year.
You know,
and now 3-0.
Yeah, we talk about the adjustments that a pitcher has to make, whether you're a veteran or young, in that first inning. But after you leave the mound and do a belly flop like that, sometimes that can even throw your rhythm off a little bit more. Let's see if he can recover from that. He's got a lot of pitches. 2 and 4 seam fastball. He'll go 90 to 94. Curveball, slider, cutter, change. He tries to throw all of his pitches on different parts of the plate and really works quickly. Has that little hip rotation turn, and they're going to come out and check on him.
And this was Salvador Perez motioning to Nick Kenny, and hopefully it's just recovering from getting the wind knocked out of him, which is such an odd, don't want to call it an injury, but it's an odd feeling. For about a minute you feel like you're going to die. It's just painful, can't get your wind, no breath, and then after a minute or two it's like nothing happened. But they're looking at his left leg.
And you know, sometimes, you know, early in the game you're not expecting something and you have to move quickly like that. You'd hope he's loose enough that he doesn't strain any kind of a muscle there.
So his landing leg Well, he gave him the thumbs up. His body language prior to that wasn't very encouraging. And Nick Kenny, interesting. Nick Kenny, the best way to describe him is he's like a mother hen. He talked to Johnny Cueto and then he immediately talked to Ned Yost, because I think Ned Yost wants to know, Hud, okay, first of all, what do you think? And if something is bothering him right now, is this something that could get worse as the game goes?
It happened right there where when he stepped with his left foot, it looked like his knee kind of went a little bit wobbly, and I'm sure that the step he took to pick up that ground ball is what caused that.
And now strike two, Nelson Cruz. And he's still just trying to get loose. Riding inside, 1 ball, 1 strike. Cruz has driven in just 1 run in the series and has just 3 hits, all singles, but there you go, 42 home runs, which is second in the league. And he's hit safely in his last 10 games.
Nelson Cruz. This is just the second at bat he's ever gotten off of Cueto. Only 4 Mariners in this lineup have ever faced Johnny Cueto before. A good spot on the corner.
Two and two.
Making sure to not get that ball in his wheelhouse. What's amazing is looking at Nelson Cruz's numbers. 554 times at bat. He's only grounded to 5 double plays. For a big DH like that, that's a little bit shocking number. Usually they have a high number for a designated hitter rolling over.
Just outside. Cueto stares in at home plate umpire Pat Hoberg.
That's where you want to keep it. Two-seam didn't quite catch that corner like he wanted.
Center field. Kane back to get it. Marte will tag. He'll go to third. And Seager goes back to first. And now Cueto will get Robinson Cano. Still very much loved in Kansas City, and the fans remind him that every time he comes to the plate.
Well, I'm sure he'll always be loved here.
Last night Cano had a milestone base hit, a single in the 8th inning for his 2000th career hit. And in game 1 of the series, he had 2 home runs and drove in 4. He has 5 career plate appearances against Cueto, 2 hits and a walk.
Johnny wants to continue to execute down, so if he does make contact, he grounds into his 21st double play. He leads the Mariners in that category. Usually off speed away, fastballs away. When the hitter tries to pull it, it's a ground ball.
There's the ground ball. Escobar takes it to the bag. Number 22 to match the number on the back of his jersey. So Cueto with a sore knee gets through it, and the Mariners are scoreless in the first. like Johnny Cueto is all right. And the Royals got out of first and third and 1 out with Cano at the plate. The magic number is 2. And by the way, Cleveland leads Minnesota on a Jason Kipnis home run in the first inning. Here's the Royals batting order tonight. One little change. Salvador Perez and Alex Rios flip-flop. Perez will bat 8th, and Rios, who lost an 11-game hitting streak last night, he will bat 7th as the Royals get ready to face big left-hander James Paxton, 26 years old, 6'4", 235 pounds. He was on the disabled list for over 3 months. He injured a tendon in his left middle finger, and this is just his second start since coming back from the DL.
Well, he loves his fastball. He's going to go anywhere from 93 to 96, but you'll check out this guy's high front side delivery. It's kind of unique. He throws that glove hand up way over his head and comes straight over the top, almost like Iron Mike. And that's what players say about a pitching machine that throws it right over the top. So check him out. That's some deception when he throws that glove up there like that. Likes his fastball. He cuts it as well. Little cutter.
One and 1 to Alex Gordon. Right to the shortstop Marte. So he was played in the perfect spot with a slight shift toward the middle. 1 away. Mariners really haven't had a whole lot of trouble defensively in this series, but it really hasn't been a good year for them defensively overall. They're starting a converted infielder in center field in Brad Miller, who plays all over the field, and we told you in game 1 the Mariners are trying to turn him into a Ben Zobrist type of a player. And here is Zobrist with 1 out.
He's a fine athlete. Both of them, Zobrist and Miller.
Zobrist last night helped set up the game-winning run when he was hit by a pitch. With 1 out in the bottom of the 10th, Alex Gordon put an end to that 0 for 22. Then Zobrist was hit, and when he was hit, Ned Yost went with Paulo Orlando to run at second base, and Lorenzo Cain drove him home to win it. And that's a fair ball inside of third and down into the corner. And Zobrist is at second base with 1 out.
34th double. What a beautiful stroke on the changeup. Paxton's going to use the changeup to righties. Not real comfortable using it to lefties, but you can see it there when it flat floats out over the middle like that. It's very hittable. And fortunately, Zobrist didn't hook it foul, but he kept his hands inside the ball and raked it right by the bag. Very energetic, vocal crowd I'm feeling here in this ballpark tonight.
And now Lorenzo Cain, his last swing, won the game in the 10th inning last night. And he chops it to third. Seager's going to have to hurry. That's a tough play, and he got Cain 2 down.
Like Lorenzo was sitting all over a fastball first pitch and just topped it. Seager's got a Gold Glove in his career. It's a little bit of rid and troll. I like to call that get rid of it with some petrol on it. Rid and troll.
So 2 down to Eric Hosmer, who has hit safely in his last 6 games. Sucre keeps the ball right around home plate, so Zobrist holds at second base. Ball 1.
Hosmer doing a nice job this year all around, hitting .303, but a .279 hitter against southpaws with 3 home runs. And you see the southpaws have really raked James Paxton this year. And that's because his curveball is not a command pitch for him. He doesn't use that all that often, and he can't throw it for strikes. He doesn't have much that goes away from the left-handed hitter except his cutter.
And there's the curveball that stayed up and in.
Didn't look like it had any life at all, any depth. So if you don't have a weapon against lefties, just going away from them, they're gonna mop you up. His cutter, he likes to use his cutter away on lefties. That's his pitch. Now he's holding it with a changeup grip.
Hosmer with a big rip. Fastball at 90 miles an hour. 2 balls and 1 strike. And he throws a lot of fastballs.
Right over the top. High front side. That creates a little bit of deception. But he's able to have a nice downhill angle with that over the top delivery. That angle is what pitchers want. Makes it tougher for hitters to square up.
Pickoff play at second base, and it hits Zobrist. He will go to third, and Mike Jershely waves him home. How about that for the game's first run? A bad throw, a bad read by the defense, and you can mix in a lack of hustle versus a lot of hustle, and the Royals lead 1-0.
Give it up for Mike Jershely, third base coach. Zobrist going back like any runner's going to. Hits up his hip. Knew there was nobody out there, so he's coming. He took a peek, and he picks up Jershely, who sends him home, taking a chance. And the chance worked. You never know which way the ball's going to bounce in baseball, and sometimes it bounces in your favor. And when that happens, good things will happen along with it. Guys, slide it home.
Stroke to deep right field. Back and off the wall. Hosmer is into second base with the second double of the inning. He has 31. And now he's in scoring position for the Royals' leading RBI man.
But he really crushed this ball. Okay, let's see what it was. It looked like a four-seam fastball with both fingers up on top. That ball's down low. Haas dropping that back leg to get down low enough so he can barrel it. Well, in order to drive a pitch like that off the wall, down low, you really got to drop that back leg, and so you can get down low enough to leverage your balance and to be able to barrel it. That's a beautiful stroke.
And now Morales rips it toward right field. Trumbo is back, and he will make the play. 2 doubles. The Mariners make a big error. Ben Zobrist gets a good read. Mike Jershely gets a good read, and the Royals lead 1-0. takes us to Minneapolis, and with Cleveland leading 1-0, Lonnie Chisenhall comes up with a 2-run base hit, so make it 3-0 Cleveland against Kyle Gibson. And now that game's in the bottom of the first inning. The Indians are trying to avoid a 3-game sweep. Ben Zobrist scoring on a throwing error, and from second base, throwing error by the catcher Jesus Sucre, tried to pick him off. That gives the Royals a 1-0 lead. Zobrist had doubled to reach. And now Johnny Cueto will get Seth Smith, Mark Trumbo, and Logan Morrison.
Previous pitch, strike one to Seth Smith, was exactly the pitch that Johnny Cueto needs to survive. To be successful, continue that little two-seamer at the knees, right where Salvi's pointing it. Perfect. Didn't get that call, but that's a good pitch. Cueto's shaking his head. I don't blame him. It's right where you want to put it.
Three and one on Smith. He has 11 career at-bats against Cueto. I told you that there aren't many Mariners who have seen Cueto. Smith has the most experience after his days with the Rockies, and he's just 2 for 11. Full count.
Okay, might want to try that two-seamer away. Keep it out of the middle. Rudy. Wow. Welcome back. That's the Johnny Cueto that the Royals want to see tonight and the rest of the way. Change up 3-2. There's not a hitter in the world that's going to hit that, especially located there. Looking fastball. Pulls the string. Excellent.
Slider outside to Mark Trumbo, playing in right field tonight for the Mariners. He played first base last night. Salvador Perez really trying to help Cueto with a lower target. That was the focus for Cueto in the game on Friday at Detroit, when Cueto gave up just 2 runs in 7 innings.
Well, what we're seeing tonight from Cueto is life on his fastball. Looks like some zip. He's got some really good downward movement on that. Nice little cutter there. That was a beauty. And the cutter has been the pitch that right-handers have really raked him on. He's been leaving it up over the zone, but when he puts it down there right where Salvi wants it, that's a tough pitch to square up. You're going to hit the top half of it and pitch to contact.
Good swing by Trumbo. That's exactly where Perez wanted it, right where Cueto put it, and Trumbo just reached out and poked it to right for a single.
Look at that. How about that back leg? You see it, back leg just kind of stepped out a little bit. That's a booty knock from a big man, Mark Trumbo.
And here's Logan Morrison, Kansas City, Missouri native.
Recognizes it's away, and he's already committed. See how far out front he was with that on that front side, but he kept his hands back enough just to rake it to right.
To right field. Rios has room and makes the play. 2 down. Attention Blue Crew members. This coming Sunday, all Blue Crew members can show their ID badge to get free access to the activities in the outfield experience. Thanks to Learning Quest 529 Education Savings Program. The gates will open at 11:30, and this opportunity is only available for the first hour, so arrive early and get your tickets now at Royals.com or call 1-800-6-ROYALS. Slugger had those Johnny Cueto dreadlocks for Cueto's home debut. He was ready to go, and Cueto did not disappoint Slugger or Royals fans when he pitched a shutout against the Tigers. This is Brad Miller with Trumbo at first base and 2 down. A little bit high, 2-0.
Johnny Cueto looks better tonight than he did in his last start in Detroit. And what I mean by that is his location, the life on the two-seam fastball, the cutter's down, all of it's down, and that's exactly where he wants to be. First couple innings in Detroit, they were up, and he got away with a few mistakes.
Paulo Orlando helped him out, threw out a runner at the plate. Otherwise, Detroit would have had a 2-run first inning. And then from innings 3 through 7, he really picked it up.
Yeah, he looked better then, but you know, to start the game now, he's right where he needs to be. This looks like the Johnny Cueto that became the first Royals starter to, in the history of Kauffman Stadium, in your first major league or if your first debut here, to throw a complete game shutout. This is what he looked like that night.
Slashed up the left field line, fair. Alex plays it in the corner. They're going to wave Trumbo home. Good feed for Escobar, and the throw arrives late, and Brad Miller ties the game with a double.
Mark Trumbo, for a big man, gets around the bases pretty well. That ball's right down the middle at 90. Miller waited late, sliced it, and when the hitter takes off running like that on a ball close to the line, you know it's fair because that hitter will let you know. And Trumbo sees it all in front of him. This is an easy call for a base runner. He's still looking. Now he's going to pick up Donnelly, the third base coach.
Sucre takes a strike at the knees, and you know he's motivated. It was his throwing error in the bottom of the first that allowed Zobrist to score from second base. Oh, and 2. Mike Zunino. Remember Mike Zunino?
I do.
Not even on their roster.
Wonder what happened to him.
First round pick of the Mariners a few years back. Got to the big leagues quickly. Hasn't hit much.
Yep.
Good. Sent him down and didn't call him back up. Sucre strikes out. Cueto strikes out 2. The Mariners tie the game on Miller's 2-out double. 1-1 tie to the bottom of the second inning. Mike Moustakas will lead off, and we look at our Toyota League leaders. 3 years ago, the Royals were 20th in the major leagues in runs scored, and just improving by small increments the next 2 years. And suddenly here they are, 6th in the major leagues. And it was the runs scored last year, and some looking at the Royals run differential, that scared people off from predicting that the Royals would accomplish what they might accomplish tonight. Many didn't expect that they would have this spike in offense in 2015.
No, and you wouldn't, and you weren't expecting Morales to do what he's done. Hosmer and Moustakas, this guy hitting right here, to have their kind of production. They've all stepped up and really meshed well as a group.
Two and two. There's that cut fastball. Just enough movement to fool the hitter.
And you'll watch him. He'll try to mix in that breaking ball, but he just doesn't have confidence in it. He'll use it for chase. Does not have good command. There it was there.
Into the right field corner and into the seats. Mike Moustakas with a new career high 21 home runs. And the Royals lead 2-1.
You want to know why Paxton doesn't throw the curveball very much to lefties? That's the reason. Lefty's hitting .389 now with 2 homers.
Also a career high 74 RBIs for Mike Moustakas.
Fantastic. Keep it going, Moose. Nothing better than seeing the Moose get loose here at the K. The fans love it.
Don't you just love Nick Kenny? He's the best, and he literally is the best in the business as the Royals head athletic trainer. But Mike Moustakas celebrating his home run, 21 home runs, 74 RBIs, and as soon as he's done celebrating, there's Nick Kenny making sure he has a glass of water, gets cooled down, and is ready to go back out on defense.
Hydrate. They all know their roles. There's no doubt. And you know, what did you call him earlier? A mother hen?
Mother hen is
Yeah.
the term that comes up, the description more often for him. That's Paxton's first strikeout as he gets Rios, and 1 down in the second inning.
Okay, let's check out the Moose home run. 21st. He's on the side of the ball. He's trying to hook that. They're trying to make it a good breaking ball, but it lands right in his wheelhouse. Very easy swing. I mean, Moose looked like he's on a golf tee right there. Just 4. Picked out a nice little 3-wood. Drove it out of here.
Fastball strike to Salvador Perez. Now making sure he finishes that cup of water. By the way, that home run for Mike Moustakas, that's only the second time ever that James Paxton has allowed a home run to a left-hand batter. He hasn't been around for a long time, but still, that's something. And what's surprising about that is what we've already discussed, that he has not done well against left-hand batters in his career, but he's been able to keep the ball in the ballpark. Brandon Moss was the other left-hand batter who had hit a home run against Paxton. 1-2.
All right, Mom, you got a righty and a lefty. You are set.
Into the Royals dugout. It may have gotten Francisco Pena on the ricochet, who appears to be All right. It went zipping past Morales and Cuthbert, then it hit that concrete wall, and they have gotten Pena on the ricochet out of the dugout. And there's a base hit to left field for Salvador Perez. And by the way, Hud, nice to see him back in the lineup tonight.
It is. We were a little bit nervous after he came out of the game, slipping over at third base, landing on his knee. Look at these guys. They are animated tonight. Here's the play last night that had everybody a little bit nervous. And to me, when he slipped and went down, I didn't see any twisting or anything, you know, and we don't want to speculate up here anyway, but having done that many times in my career, I can tell you either it was a strawberry or what they said is a contusion. That's a bruise. Hopefully that's all. And obviously, if he had more damage, he wouldn't have been playing tonight. Good to see him in there with his bat and calling pitches for Johnny Cueto.
And by the way, for the record, a strawberry, or some will call it a raspberry, that's just the breaking of the skin, a little abrasion on the leg as a result of the friction sliding on the dirt.
Right.
It's not like it was an actual strawberry that got him injured.
No, 1 or 2 layers of skin, sometimes 3, depends on the degree of the slide. But you know, those heal up easy. Now you want to put a little bit of ointment on it and put a Band-Aid. Nice.
Escobar, he appears to be back. Remember, Escobar had 3 straight days off. Saturday and Sunday in Detroit, then the off day on Monday, and now in this series with Seattle, he is 5 for 8.
It's a matter of time for guys that are going bad to get hot, and Escobar, you know, he's able to stay inside the ball now. He's not trying to pull off of it like he did for so long. When he got demoted to the 9 hole, it kind of bothered him a little bit mentally, and it took him a little while to get used to it. Now they got their trainer out.
And remember, as they're looking at Paxton's left hand, this is his 2nd start since coming back from the disabled list. He missed over 3 months with a strained tendon in his left middle finger.
Blister. You can see it. You can see it on his middle finger, his left hand, on the nail.
Walking off with Rick Griffin, the long will get a reliever from the bullpen, and that reliever will have all the time he needs to get ready to come into the game.
This is the time a reliever's heart starts pounding. And he's going, all right, I wonder who it's going to be. Well, there's only usually 2, maybe 3 long men out there, and those are the guys that are going to get the call.
Looks like J.C. Ramirez. as Crown Vision has shown a picture of the score in Minnesota. 3-0 Cleveland in the bottom of the second. And that's what the fans hope to see tonight. The Royals clinching the American League Central. Well, fans, it's all about you coming up on Saturday. Fan Appreciation Night presented by Sprint. It's the Royals and the Indians. The night will feature games, giveaways, and great prizes. Plus, the first 10,000 fans receive this Royals knit stocking cap, courtesy of Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City. Perfect for the postseason. So get those tickets now at Royals.com or call 1-800-6-ROYALS.
Fans know what it's all about here. They've already shattered the previous single season record total, and they are all here. School tomorrow? Well, maybe for some of them, but not for others. They are all here and ready to celebrate with their team, the American League champions of 2014. What a fantastic job they've done this season for helping their Royals guard their flag, defend the flag.
Ramirez pitched the 9th inning on Tuesday and allowed a run on 2 hits. One of the hits he allowed was to Alex Rios, a double, which extended his hitting streak to 11 games, and Alex's last chance that night, and then that hitting streak came to an end last night.
Way to go, Dad. 85.
First time at Kauffman Stadium.
How about it?
Vote for the Royals Player of the Month at rallyhouse.com. You'll be entered to win a majestic prize pack from Rally House. So a run home on the Moustakas home run, and now Alex Gordon bats with Perez at second and Escobar at first. Alex grounded out to the shortstop Marte in the first inning.
Yeah, a little break in the action to get J.C. Ramirez good and loose. He's a big guy, 6'4", 250. Power fastball. Low to upper 90s with that slider to change.
Just foul, and that would have been worth 2.
That ball boy down there made a play, and that's pretty dangerous on a ball like that. Could have been called fair, and that would have cost the Royals a run. He just wants to get in the action, though.
I mean, you put a kid in a uniform and you give him a glove on a big league field, right? That's what you expect.
They're going to make the play.
Outside, 2-1 to Alex. The numbers we just showed you. Big difference between the Royals and the Mariners this year. Hitting with runners in scoring position. The Royals are the second best in the American League. The Mariners are dead last. And now 3-1 with Zobrist next. Carlos Santana has just homered for Cleveland. It is now 6-0 Indians in the 3rd inning.
J.C. Ramirez, looking at that little runner out there, and Salvador Perez, a little inside move, taking his thoughts off of Gordon, could hurt him.
That's a base hit. Sal will be held at third. Good decision. That was a very good throw by Trumbo. Bases loaded, 1 out for the Royals.
Yep, fastball right where Alex wants it. After going 0 for 22, got that big hit to get on base last night, and now he's following it up. Good stroke, right on it. Salvi had to freeze. Want to make sure that the ball didn't get caught.
And now loaded up for Zobrist. He has already doubled and scored tonight. Blocked by Sucre. 1 ball and no strikes. Zobrist was at second base. And Sucre tried to pick him off. Receiving the pitch, throwing down to second base. And the ball ricocheted off of Zobrist and went into shallow right field. And Zobrist scored from second base on the play. 2-0.
Well, one thing you know about Zobrist, watching him in that Royals uniform and in other uniforms across the American League, he is patient. He's going to make you throw him his pitch.
Two and one. Three balls, 1 strike. Kane would be next. Not very deep.
Trumbo's got a good arm.
Sal tags and holds. 2 down.
Trumbo, a former pitcher in his amateur days, could throw the ball 95 to 96 miles an hour off the bump. So he got a good arm. And I like Salvi not just taking 2 steps. He took 5 or 6. Come down there, make sure to read that throw. If the ball kicks off, he can score on that. Zobrist not happy. Just got under it. Not enough. He knew it.
So why not? The Royals have been the best in baseball this year with 2 outs and runners in scoring position. Kane takes a fastball strike from Ramirez. This is a tough spot. You know, we say that the pitcher has all the time that he wants to get loose, but he's got over 30,000 people just waiting for him to hurry up and get loose. No balls and 2 strikes, and it takes I would think a veteran. It would take someone who's able to just block all that out and just truly warm up on his own terms and not try and warm up too fast. One and 2 on Kane.
If you're Ramirez, you have to look at this like, hey, look, all right, I didn't have time to get nervous before the game. I didn't know I was going to pitch, and now I'm in there. Okay, good. Go out and let's play. He didn't have any time to get butterflies. Execute his pitches. Try to stay out of the middle of the plate. He's doing a good job here. Getting Zobrist to pop up, and now Lorenzo Cain down to the count 1 and 2. Fastball slider change.
Just outside. Out to the shortstop Marte, and they get the out at second base. So the Royals, they take the lead. They leave the bases loaded. So Ramirez does a good job of getting the Mariners out of the inning. Mike Moustakas has a new career high for home runs and RBIs to give the Royals the lead. Congratulations. And mark your calendars. Take your little girl to 2016 Royals Fan Fest presented by Commerce Bank. That's Friday, January 29th and Saturday, January 30th at the Kansas City Convention Center. It's a family-friendly event. Will feature player autograph sessions, slugger appearances, Royals merchandise, activities, and more. Royals.com/fanfest. Curveball for a strike to Ketel Marte. Johnny Cueto is pitching with a lead for the second time tonight. Top of the order for Seattle. Grounded out to Hosmer. That ball stayed down on him, but he stayed with it, and he goes to the bag to get Marte. Marte had a bunt attempt to begin the game, which gave the Royals a little scare. Cueto went down, and what we thought was just a simple belly flop and getting the wind knocked out of him. Royals trainer Nick Kenny ended up coming out in that inning and looking at Cueto's left leg. Seager takes a breaking ball for a strike.
He just looks a lot more confident tonight. He's free and easy. He's the Johnny Cueto that we were accustomed to in his first 5 starts of the season. He's using all parts of the strike zone.
Still 0-2 on Seager. He reached for the walk in the first inning.
He'll throw all of his pitches to both sides of the plate at any count. Different looks and quick pitch. He'll over-rotate his hips. And it's got a nice tempo. Beauty.
93 with that fastball to strike out Seager, and that is number 3 for Cueto.
Nice to see him go into that fastball. At 93, 94 miles an hour, that's an extremely effective pitch to a hitter. Sure, they're looking for it, but with that kind of movement, it started in on the plate and ends up in the middle away. That's just electric stuff. It's really good movement. It's going to get a lot of swing and misses on pitches like that.
Down and away, ball 1. Cruz slide to center field in the first inning. And now takes a big rip in the batter's box after Cueto backed off the rubber.
Cueto executed some wonderful pitches on him first time up, and they weren't called. They were on the outside part of the plate, right where you want to pitch a power hitter.
Three 3-0 on Cruz.
You know, it's amazing to me when I see guys chew sunflower seeds when they're hitting. I couldn't do that. It took away from my concentration trying to crack that seed and get that little seed, you know, and then chew it. And it's too much. But some guys can do it.
Is hitting and chewing seeds harder than walking and chewing gum at the same time?
Oh, absolutely. There's no question about it.
Pitch was down to Cruz, and he fouls it away. 3-2. Is he chewing seeds with confidence?
No question. And you know, Yadier Molina, he's the one that I noticed first a couple years ago. He'd go up there so relaxed, look like he's just sitting in the dugout chewing them. And he's standing up there trying to focus on a 98-mile-an-hour fastball. Hey!
And I think there was an even extra rock and shimmy, and maybe an extra mile per hour on that fastball. Let's count them, Hud.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you've got to go.
Parkinson's disease. After hearing about a fundraiser called Moving Day, he knew he wanted to be involved, so Brian and his friends created a team called Stu's Crew. Well surpassing their goal in the first year, Stu's Crew raised over $14,000, and after 3 years he has raised more than $50,000, all while raising awareness about the disease. And Brian sits in the Buck O'Neil legacy seat at tonight's game. Robinson Cano shows why he has more than one Gold Glove. Tough play on a hard hit ball at the bat of Eric Hosmer, and there's one down for J.C. Ramirez in the bottom of the third.
Right at him, stayed down low, finished high, followed that hop perfectly. Haas has ripped off many base hitters, guys that were trying to get hits by him over there, and Cano says, all right, I'll return the favor to you.
Kendrys Morales takes a fastball strike. Morales lined to right his first time up.
Royals love that fastball, and J.C. Ramirez has one to give it. Mix up that little slider there. He's got to be able to mix in a secondary pitch, because you know you just can't get by with a fastball alone. Unless you're Mariano Rivera, you throw it a cutter every pitch. I don't know how that guy ever did that.
One and two. Ramirez came on in a tough spot with one out last inning. James Paxton had to leave with a torn fingernail on his left hand.
Yeah, when athletic trainer Rick Griffin went out there to check on him, I could see some blood on that middle finger. Now, usually it's a blister at times, but you know, I guess his nail just came off the skin there. Lots of times they'll do that by digging in with trying to get that grip on that curveball.
The Royals scored a run in the first inning on the throwing error by the catcher Sucre. That scored Zobrist from second, and then Moustakas homered in the second inning. Mariners got their run on a double from Miller in the second. Full count. Now, you think that little guy, you think those headphones were on to protect him from the noise, or do you think he's listening to Denny and Fizz?
Well, as good as they are, I wouldn't be surprised if they were trying to raise that young man to replace either one of those guys when he's ready. But I have a sneaking suspicion it's noise.
Morales comes back after falling behind. He'll take a walk with one out, bringing up Mike Moustakas.
Yep, I got to believe that that's all about the noise.
Yep. He just had a nice meal.
Yeah, he did. What a beauty.
I think he's listening to the radio. He doesn't even have to watch the game because he can hear what's going on. He can check out the crowd. He can drool all over Mom.
That's
and
right.
Still get the play-by-play.
Yeah.
Mike Moustakas leading off the second inning, homered into the right field corner, giving him a career high 21 home runs and a career high 74 RBIs.
If J.C. Ramirez pitches Moose just like he did Morales, he can expect a lot of fastballs in and sliders in.
Two and 0. Let's call that our Dodge drive of the game.
Why not? It was. He just dropped the head of that bat on that ball, got some backspin, and that's all it took. Making a fan happy once that ball came down.
We discussed this last night after Moustakas singled to right. he is pulling the ball a lot more lately, but not muscling up and pulling the ball. He's, as you pointed out, doing it with some loose hands.
Exactly, just reacting. And there's a big difference when you muscle and pull. Look what Escobar did for a month. He wasn't making any contact. Ooh, that's a good pitch for Moose down there. He likes it, but didn't get the call, did Ramirez. Infield of Seattle haven't played moves to the drastic pull shift like others have. They're a little bit more on this side of the diamond though right now. They've pulled over since game 1. And he went. Now the outfield, they're Miller in center. He's playing Moose on the pull side. Way up there and deep.
That'll land in the seats.
Hey, nice catch by the hat.
That's worthy of a strongest fan photo. And you can tweet yours right now. Just use hashtag KCDataStrongFan. You just might see yourself in tonight's broadcast. Brought to you by T-Mobile. Hashtag KCDataStrongFan.
And I wonder what that young man did with his glasses when he took his hat off and caught that ball. He showed some extreme skills there.
Morales and Moustakas have back-to-back walks with 1 out. And now Rios with a right-hander ready in the Seattle bullpen. And Lloyd McClendon hated to lose his starter after an inning and a third, but if that's ever going to happen, you want it to happen in September. He's got all the pitching he needs out there with the expanded rosters. So Ramirez ends up pitching 1 inning between the second and the third combined. And now Guayape comes on to pitch for Seattle. Two and 6-0 Cleveland in the top of the 4th inning at Target Field. Michael Guaipe out of Venezuela is the 3rd Mariners pitcher, and we only have 1 out in the 3rd inning. He comes on to get Rios. As AC Ramirez got the 1st out of the inning and then walked Morales and Moustakas. Breaking ball. Rios is able to stop his swing. Breaking ball stayed up, and it's fouled back and out of play. 1 ball, 1 strike. Whitepay out of Venezuela, signed by the Mariners in 2007, and they brought him along very slowly. Whitepay did not play for the Mariners minor league affiliate in the United States until his 5th professional season. Ground ball, base hit left field. Morales will be held. And a play at third. Morales is out.
Boy, that's a heads-up play by Marte, the shortstop, getting over there on to third base. That's a tough break there. But good heads-up play by the shortstop. Clean single. Look at the shuffle pass there by Seagram. It was all about that Marte being there, but Seagram with that little backhand feed right on the base. That was a perfect play.
It's a single for Rios, and then the out is recorded 7-5-6. Upstairs to Salvador Perez.
You know, they didn't want to review this, but it looked like it could be reviewable. Morales looked like it in that super slow motion play there that he might have got his foot in there.
Well, remember, clear and convincing. It looked like doesn't cut it.
You know, you're right. We learned that this year, and it is early in the game.
Into left field. So the Royals early tonight, similar to last night, leaving a lot of runners on base. They have stranded 6 in the first 3 innings.
Through Tommy John surgery, Ryan Madsen and Lou Kochi ever had a chance to talk with Hoach for quite a while today, just about what Greg Holland mentally might be going through right now, and Greg facing the prospects of Tommy John surgery. And Hoach said, really, at this point, when you know that that's a possibility, you're still almost feeling invincible. You're not worried about that. I'll get through this. Everything will be okay. He said there's some differences, though. He said eventually you're going to be told one way or another that you have to go in there and do this thing. In Hoach's case, his velocity was fine, his command was off. The opposite of Greg's was the command was still good, but the velocity was down. And in Hoch's case, you remember that moment where he knew when he had to have surgery, the elbow blew out. That was the end of it. He said in the case of Greg, and we've heard trainers and doctors say before that the elbow and the ligament is almost like the treads on your tire, that they're going to wear out over time. You don't replace your tires just because there's some wear and tear on them. You do it once you have to and you can't function anymore. So Hoch, he was told that when the elbow blew out. In Greg's case, he was battling through. Hoch saying he's as tough as anyone. He's stubborn. He's going to go out there. He's going to find a way. And they finally got to a point where he just couldn't function anymore. And so that's why he's going in for the second opinion and all that. But I thought very interesting, guys, that Hoch said that right now he'll be fine. It's next year and the mental part of recovering from this and wanting to be with the team and not being a part of it and having days where you just don't want to be around it because it's too hard to be there but not be a part of it. So a lot of mental battles perhaps upcoming for Greg Holland.
Yeah, you know what? I've heard Hochevar say more than once that last season he wasn't a part of it, was his best season. Just being around the guys and enjoying it, because you can't control some things in baseball, and in life it's the same way. You can't control once you've been operated on, so why not just enjoy it? And that's what Hoch was saying. He said, last year was my best year, just enjoying these guys. So hopefully Holland will enjoy it himself.
Cano singles to left field to begin the fourth inning.
But I've never went through a procedure like that before, but I have missed some time, and it's just something that's part of the sport. I'm sure he'll have his feelings. And Cueto gives up this base hit to the opposite field. Good stroke by Cano.
Seth Smith at the plate. Cueto got him with a changeup in the second inning. Cueto has struck out 4. He has walked 1. And the Mariners have 1 run, 4 hits against Cueto. No balls, 2 strikes. Missed the target, 1-2. And that's a base hit to left field. Robinson Cano is not 100%. He goes limping into third base, and that explains part of the Zobrist play in the first inning, when it just seemed like it took him forever to get to that ball in right center field, and that allowed Zobrist to score. But man, he was really hobbling going to third on this base hit by Smith.
Yeah, you know, and you noticed some stuff at the plate last night when he was stepping out and grabbing his hip, but that ball, it was elevated. The reason that Seth Smith was able to get such a good swing on it. Lloyd McClendon, most of managers in today's game played the game at one particular time, and they understand guys playing through injuries. But what they want is, if you're about 80%, they want 100% of your 80.
That's past Moustakas, and that'll give Seattle the lead. Mark Trumbo has his second hit. Seattle leads 3-2 in the fourth inning. Still nobody out. That pitch was up. Not a strike, but it was up.
Yep. And that's how hitters take advantage of pitches that are not located where they should be. Moose gave it all he had.
Morrison pulls it foul. He flied out to Rios in right field in the second inning. There's some good movement. 0-2. Popped up. And Moustakas makes the play. Out number 1 in the top of the 4th inning. We discussed this on Tuesday. The Mariners changed hitting coaches in the middle of June, right before the Royals went to Seattle. Howard Johnson was reassigned and Edgar Martinez took over as hitting coach. And the Mariners have been a different team on offense since then. Seattle was only averaging 3.4 runs per game before Edgar Martinez, and now over 4.5 since he took over. Chopped out to Escobar. Miller is out, and Trumbo goes to third. And in September, the Mariners as a team have really been playing well, and their offense continues to surge. They have the 2nd most home runs in the American League in September. Part of that, though, not to take anything away from Seattle, but this is why general managers and managers always caution about making evaluations in the month of September when your team is out of contention. A lot of the pressure is gone. Guys are relaxing. They see the finish line. They're thinking about getting home and being with their family and their friends, maybe going on vacation, taking a fishing trip. So there's 2 ways to look at what Seattle is doing right now. And Sucre drives it to deep left field. Alex is there to make the play. So they've been swinging the bats well going back to the middle of June, and especially this month. Cueto shakes his head as he leaves the mound. Seattle leads 3-2. Baseball is brought to you by Panera Bread. Avoid the lines. Order online with rapid pickup at delivery.panerabread.com. By Menards. Save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. And by Jeep. Get a great deal on a legendary Jeep brand vehicle at the Jeep Celebration event. They're in the top of the 5th at Target Field. Cleveland leads 6-0. Jason Kipnis led off the game with a home run. Lonnie Chisenhall drove in 2 more in the first inning, and then in the third, Carlos Santana hit a 3-run home run. Story here tonight is very similar to the story last night early in the game. Seattle leads, and the Royals are having very little trouble getting base runners. The challenge is getting those runners home. The Royals have left 6 on base in the first 3 innings. Alcides Escobar is 1 for 1 tonight. He's had a good series. He's really had a good year against Seattle. He singled to center field in the second inning.
Guy Pay looks like he's got a little changeup working, a little sinker down. He's got a slider.
Full count. In addition to getting hits, Alcides Escobar has also been walking lately. He had 2 walks in the game last night. Still not considered a hitter who walks a lot, but we talk about seeing pitches, and a lot of times that means seeing pitches that are either in the strike zone or out of the strike zone. When a hitter's struggling, balls look like strikes and strikes look like balls. And right now Escobar has a pretty good feel for what's a strike, what he's looking for, and what he wants to do with it.
Yeah, he just pulled off of that last one. If you want to wait a click longer and stay in the middle of the field, that's what he's been doing. Ooh. Beautiful little breaker here by Guy Pay.
Alex is grounded to short and single to right. Going to be a night where Lloyd McClendon, the Mariners manager, is hoping that a lot of relievers are on tonight, because he's going to have to use a lot of relievers. His starter James Paxton came out in the second inning with a torn fingernail in his left hand. JC Ramirez went 1 inning, and now Guaipe is facing his 4th batter after coming on in the 3rd inning. 2-1 on Alex. Just missed it. 2-2. Just a tick off. He had better swings in his last few at bats, but just still not completely zoned in on the pitches.
No, but those 2 balls that were meant to go to left center that he fouled off, keeping that bottom hand working.
Back-to-back strikeouts, both looking.
That two-seamer, it looked like it was going to be inside when he released it. Snuck back over the dish.
Zobrist doubled and scored in the first inning and then flied to right in the second. And that fly out to right field in the second inning is one of the biggest outs, and maybe the biggest out for the Mariners, because it came with the bases loaded and 1 out, and the Royals had a lot of momentum in the inning. They were building a big inning. But Ramirez got Zobrist to fly out, Kane to ground out, and the Royals got just 1 run in the second. Tap foul, still 0-2.
He's got some good sinking action to his fastball, and that slider looks good too. He's commanding it here in this inning.
Zobrist is down on strikes. Michael Guipe strikes out the side. He gets Escobar, Gordon, and Zobrist. And at the end of 4, the Royals are down 3-2. Celebration here tonight. Right now Seattle leads 3-2 as we head to the top of the 5th inning, and we welcome in Royals Hall of Famer Jeff Montgomery. And when the Royals were batting in the first inning, the second inning, and the third inning, they had base runners, and seeing what was happening in Minnesota, it felt like the Royals were one big hit from putting this game on ice very early in the game. But the Seattle pitching staff, and they're going to need a lot tonight, has been able to make big pitches.
Well, they have. We saw a lot of that last night. A lot of electricity here tonight in these stands, and when Mike Moustakas hit the home run, put the Royals back on top, you can just kind of sense the fans are maybe expecting something very special tonight.
It now feels a little tense.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
What have you seen from Cueto so far tonight?
Inconsistency. I've seen a lot of innings where he's been on mark and he's hit Salvador Perez's glove a lot, then see him kind of revert back, and kind of that strike zone seems to adjust upward, and he's in the middle part of the plate, more of the belt high level than the lower part of the knee high level. And we've seen that a lot over the last month, really, where he's had games where he's that strike zone has just been adjusted up, and I think that's been a real problem. But it seems like now at least he's consistently hitting the ball, or hitting the strike zone down, and at least hitting Salvador's target much more frequently.
Top of the order and third time through. Marte, Seager, and Cruz. Marte had that bunt single to open the game. He's hit in 12 straight. He's a good-looking player. It's fun to see how Marte and Cleveland's Francisco Lindor develop. We'll see Lindor here at Kauffman Stadium tomorrow.
Yeah, two very similar players. Both have nice defensive skills, but they also have the ability to drive the baseball, and especially for leadoff guys that aren't real big physical stature guys. We'll go back to the third inning here. We're going to see one of those innings where Cueto seemed to be on the mark with all of his pitches. Salvador Perez setting up, and Salvador looking for balls in certain areas, and Johnny Cueto hitting them. When we go to the fourth inning, we see the ball start to get up in that middle part of the strike zone again, and that's when the hitters, as we know, HUD, doing half the work for the hitters when that ball's up.
And that's where they're looking.
Strike to Seager, who has walked and struck out. There's a good changeup down. No balls and 2 strikes.
And that changeup is a pitch that I saw in his last start against the Detroit Tigers that really seemed to be the pitch that got him down either on the lower part of the strike zone or under the bats below the strike zone. I'd love to see him throw that pitch a little more.
Strike zone has been tight for both sides. Although maybe Bill Miller set an unfair tone in game 1 when just about everything was a strike, but that one appeared to catch some of the strike zone. Pat Hoberg is the home plate umpire. The strike zone was a mystery last night.
Another pitch too, Monty. We didn't see his cutter in his last outing. I think he put that on the shelf for a little while, but tonight he's executed a few nice cutters to some right-handed bats that got him into trouble when he was in his little funk.
Well, it's a pitch he really believes in. It's a pitch he feels like he needs to have to be successful.
See that sign behind home plate?
Missed it.
The lady right above the ivy for Ivy Funds.
That lady right there.
Yeah.
I saw it. I saw her put something up, but it came back down.
Alex makes the play. 1 down in the 5th inning. Bonnie, I think I've asked you this before, but let's bring it up again. I rarely hear a pitching coach say, well, he's fallen in love with his fastball, or he's fallen in love with his split, or he's fallen in love with his slider. Why is it when he's falling in love with, and it usually means to his detriment, why is it always falling in love with a cutter? I can think of so many Royals pitchers the last few years that got into trouble because they fell in love with their cutter.
Well, I think it's a pitch that doesn't have the finish that if you make a mistake with it, you have a chance of getting an out with.
2 down as Cruz flies to right.
If you throw a lot of cutters and eventually you start to leave them in the middle part of the plate, they get hit harder than probably any other pitch. If you fall in love with your fastball and you're missing, at least there's a chance that if you're not in the middle part of the plate, you're going to be okay with it.
So just a pitch that doesn't have a lot of room for error.
Exactly. Okay. You've got to be very precise with the cutter.
Remember, you see Giordano Ventura there sitting with Volquez. Last season, Giordano in spring training was throwing some cutters, and Dave Island, when he found out, he says, you know what, you don't need that pitch. You don't need a cutter right now. You got 3 excellent pitches. Just stay with those. Now this year Dave's let him bring that in a few more times, but sometimes that's a pitch that you really don't need.
Well, I feel like a cutter, and this isn't for all pitchers, but I think a cutter is a good pitch for a pitcher who doesn't have a good fastball. It's a variation pitch. It makes your fastball maybe better. And you don't have to use the cutter as an out pitch, but it does make your fastball better, which gives you the chance to use that fastball more.
Joakim Soria, I remember a few years ago, got into trouble. He was throwing his fastball or his cutter too much. Luke Hochevar as a starter at times threw his cutter too much. Mariano Rivera never had that problem.
No, he didn't.
Boy, for a guy who looks like he's injured, Robinson Cano has taken some wicked cuts.
I was talking to some of the broadcasters from the Seattle side, and they were saying that the injury really didn't bother him as far as his swing. It bothered him more as the explosiveness from a running standpoint.
Because it sure took him a long time to get to that ball that led to the Zobrist run in the first inning.
Right.
Taking all the way on 1-1, unless he thought he had asked for time. How can you complain about the location of the pitch when you're taking all the way? On 1-1?
It's a good pitch by Cueto.
Two balls, two strikes.
It's right where Salvi wanted it, and you notice once again Salvador Perez not trying to catch that ball. He opens up his glove and he just pushes it out in front. And the reason being, he says that he just wants to, he's more comfortable when it drops in front of the plate and he can pick it up with his hand and get rid of it quicker. Watch him how he pushes this ball in front.
So he purposely lets it fall out of his glove, even though right there he could have squeezed the ball and kept it in his glove.
Yeah, it's amazing how, you know, what kind of talent, how soft his hands are, but how comfortable he is in picking that ball up off the ground and firing it.
Struck him out. Leadoff walk, and then Cueto gets the next three. Middle of the order coming up. Kane, Hosmer, and Morales. Royals baseball is brought to you by Thoroughbred Ford. For great deals on new Ford cars and trucks, visit thoroughbredford.com. The Royals are down by 1 as they bat in the bottom of the 5th inning. Cleveland continues to lead Minnesota 6-0. They're a half inning ahead of the Royals. One and one on Kane, who was grounded out twice, facing Michael Guaipe, who came on in the 3rd inning and gave up a base hit to Rios, but then has retired the last 4, including 3 straight strikeouts.
2 of them looking. He's got good stuff working, especially when you get a couple of guys looking at him. That means that movement on his two-seamer is a nice pitch. Now here's a slider. You could see it on that super slow motion little dot on the ball. Sometimes as a hitter you can pick that up.
Yeah, and as a pitcher, when you throw that slider, you want to see a small dot. When you see a large dot, that means it's just kind of spinning up there. It's not getting very much life.
Three and two.
Those are like backup sliders, or what they call cement mixers, where it just spins.
Spinning, no movement. You travel far.
The hitters love to see those.
Got him, and that was ball 4.
Royals hitters a little bit anxious.
Good.
Yeah.
I hope he has a nice shower.
All right. Get this guy out.
What's going to happen tonight when you lose your starter in the second inning? Lloyd McClendon's going to point out there, and one guy is not going to have his best stuff. On in the bottom of the 5th inning, DraftKings labeled him as a player to watch. 1 for 2 with a double. That was in the 1st inning. Hosmer has hit in 7 straight. Go to DraftKings.com, enter the promo code BRoyal to play daily fantasy baseball for free.
That 31st double that Hosmer hit in the 1st inning was a thing of beauty. That was a fastball that had a lot of life on it, and it was down in the zone. And watch how he goes down and gets it. In order to go down as a hitter and get a ball like this with some lift on it, look at his back leg here. Look at how low to the ground it is. It's a very, very short, small adjustment, but he had to get his body down, and he barreled it. That's a beautiful stroke right there, and he almost hit it out of the yard.
This is Rob Rasmussen, and he just misses inside. A 10.54 ERA and a .365 opponent's batting average.
You mentioned it, Ryan. You know, you bring in all these relievers, somebody's bound not to have their best stuff. Now, Guaipe did. See what Rasmussen has. We know, he's got a 93, 94 mile an hour fastball and a big breaker. Oh,
there's the breaker. Center field, deep. Gone! Hosmer to straightaway center field to tie the game.
home run was a beauty. It looked like a slider that just spun, Monty, like we talked about. You saw the big dot on it. It was just a spinner. Hosmer, in batting practice, he does this all day long, hitting balls over that center field fence. That was a beauty. What a stroke. Like we said, hitters love to see it when it just spins and doesn't break. Miller, the center fielder, ran out of room.
One and one on Morales. Home run number 16. Run batted in number 87, adding to his career high. Royals don't have a big home run hitter or hitters, but they have a lot of balance. And with Hosmer's home run, the Royals now have 5 players with 16 or more home runs. That's tied for second most in the major leagues. Two and two. Morales is lined to right and walked. Yankees have the most. They have 6 hitters with 16 or more home runs. A little different ballpark, by the way.
Slightly.
And Morales is down on strikes. So how do the Royals do it on offense? Well, there's the home run statistic. They just have very good balance. The Royals have 9 players with 85 or more hits. That's tied for the most in the major leagues. Here are the team leaders. They have 320 home run hitters for the first time since 2002. The Royals have 8 hitters with 20 or more doubles. That's the most in the major leagues. They have 8 hitters with 44 or more RBIs, and that's tied for most in the major leagues. So there's not 1 or 2 guys that just knock your eyes out with the individual numbers, but when you spread it out amongst the starting 9, it's pretty impressive.
And that really has been the trademark of this more productive lineup during the course of 2015. It has balance and has depth in it, so it's a really nice sign.
Who was the pitching coach, Hud, that said playing the Royals is like playing a basketball team with a full court press?
Jim Hickey.
Tampa Bay Rays pitching coach.
I'll never forget that panic that I saw on his face before the first game of the 3-game series. Sucre, I don't know if he got mixed up or what, but he caught that flush. He didn't get a glove or anything on it. Let's see where it gets him. Ooh, it hit him right in the ribs. Might have taken the wind out of him. There's no padding on that side, Monty.
Only natural.
Rob Rasmussen. Looks like he's fastball slider.
Two and two.
Bush's head's pulling on his last 2 swings against Rasmussen. He's pulling that head just a little. And after you hit a home run, that's kind of a natural thing when you're trying to find that groove. See if he can go a little 2-strike approach. He's going to try to slide her away again. You got him one a little more elevated there.
To right field. That's off the fence. It almost knocked the fence over. My goodness, can you hit it harder than that? That ball was absolutely launched to right field.
And how many weeks of laundry, of Goldberg's laundry, could you hang on this one?
At least half a week.
And that ball was not walking. I mean to tell you, probably 3 seconds it took to get to that wall. Any type of elevation, and that's a homer.
Moose has a home run tonight, but that ball was tattooed. Hit that ball harder than the home run ball.
He did.
They'll probably check the ball to see if it had a scuff mark. They might even check the fence. So the Royals ran into a guy who didn't have his A game, and this is right-hander Logan Kensing out of the Seattle bullpen. This is at second base after a double. October means baseball, and FS1 continues to be your home for postseason action with the American League Division and Championship Series. Don't miss a moment of the drama and history. It all begins October 8th on FS1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Alex Rios. Brett Moustakas at second base, 2 down against Logan Kensing. Slider is in for a strike.
93 to 95 on that fastball. Just saw the slider, and he's got to change as well.
Pitch may have been outside. 0-2 on Rios. Kensing made a very brief appearance last night. Lloyd McClendon used 8 pitchers, and Kensing was the 6th pitcher. And he faced one hitter. He got Alcides Escobar to fly out to deep left center field. That's chopped out to short. Marte didn't secure it in his glove right away. Rios is out. Fans behind first think that Logan Morrison came off the bag, and Ned Yost turns to the dugout. We'll see if Bill Duplessis, the Royals replay coordinator, believes that Morrison kept his foot on the bag. He does, and that is the inning. The Royals tie it with 1 out. Eric Hosmer goes deep, his 16th of the year.
That was loud. So was the crowd.
selected the Data Strong fan photo of the game. And tonight's photo sent in by Steph. Thank you, Steph. Tweet your strongest fan photo to hashtag KC Data Strong Fan for a chance to have it featured in an upcoming broadcast. Brought to you by T-Mobile. Well, Johnny Cueto has alternated good and bad innings tonight. Scoreless first, allowed 1 in the second, 1, 2, 3 third with 2 strikeouts, then allowed 2 in the fourth, and then worked around a leadoff walk in the fifth. Here's Seth Smith. He has struck out tonight against Cueto, and he has doubled and scored. Royals have led tonight 1-0 and 2-1. And Seattle has led 3-2. And the Royals just tied it in the bottom of the 5th inning on Eric Hosmer's home run. Two balls and 1 strike. Speeds up his delivery and throws a changeup. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Dave Island told me last year, and this is before Cueto got here, that what makes that work is you have to be able to throw more than 1 pitch when you speed up your motion. Grounded out to right field and past Zobrist, who was playing in shallow right. And Smith is on with a leadoff single. Luke Hochevar would do that occasionally. Jeremy Guthrie would do it occasionally. But most of the time they'd speed up their delivery and they would throw their fastball. And the reaction of the hitter would be to also speed up. And Dave Island didn't have a problem with it so long as they could throw all their pitches.
And that's very true for a pitcher that wants to do the slide step when there's a runner on base. A lot of times you kind of get stuck in that pattern of going fastball because you're doing a slide step. You're almost hoping the runner's going to steal, and you don't want to throw a breaking ball that gives the runner that advantage.
Cueto gets Trumbo for the first time tonight. 1 down in the 6th inning, and we saw Dave Island go to the phone, calling down to the Royals bullpen. Cueto is at 88 pitches. And it looks like Danny Duffy is going to start loosening up. So here's the challenge for Danny, right, Monty, to get ready quickly.
Yeah, a lot of people ask me about his outing on Sunday in Detroit, what was the difference? And I think the difference is some guys just are better when they don't have a lot of time to think about it. They just get ready, like you see Danny there, kind of that rapid fire, get things going in a hurry, and then you go into a game, you got to take a deep breath and concentrate on the hitter. You don't have 4 or 5 days to concentrate and prepare for it.
A little less pressure.
Smith runs, and a ground ball to Hosmer. He'll take the out at first. 2 down. Logan Morrison is 0 for 3. Right at 90 pitches. He has had only 1 20-pitch inning, and the Mariners scored a run in that 2nd inning. And now Cueto gets Brad Miller. Miller has driven in one of the Seattle runs tonight. Fastball with good life at 94, 0-1.
Got to go take a look at this last pitch to Morrison to get the out. Here's a pitch that's elevated and a strike zone. With this a pitch that Johnny Cueto is throwing upstairs with intent. He gets exactly the result he wanted. So sometimes it's okay to be up in the strike zone.
Ball had some good movement, but not in the strike zone. Little fly ball to left field. And that's the inning. 6 innings, 3 runs allowed by Cueto. We're tied going to the bottom of the 6th inning. Our Sonic Slam inning contestant is Robert Teed from Blue Springs. If the Royals hit a home run in this inning, Robert wins $1,200. If the Royals hit a grand slam out of the park, Robert wins $25 grand from Sonic and the Royals. Salvador Perez, followed by Alcides Escobar and Alex Gordon. They'll face Logan Kensing, who recorded the final out of the bottom of the 5th inning. Kensing is the 5th Mariners pitcher. Lloyd McClendon needed 5 pitchers to get through the first 5 innings. James Paxton, his starter, went an inning and a third and had to leave with a torn fingernail in his left hand. And J.C. Ramirez went 1. Michael Guaipe went an inning and 2/3 and struck out 4. And we hope Chuck Hawk and the boys gave him a nice warm shower and a nice warm meal, and he's enjoying himself in the Mariners clubhouse.
Glad to see him off.
And then the Royals got a run against Rob Rasmussen in 1/3 of an inning. Grounded just foul. 2-1 on Salvi. He is singled and flied out to left field.
Salvi's going to see a lot of sliders off on the outer half of the plate. You hope he makes a mistake. Salvi has a lot of power, showing it this year.
Fastball up and in. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Deep and foul.
There's the fans of the crafted draft. Got a souvenir.
That's right about where we were broadcasting the game that night.
Yeah, you know, they didn't come to the ballpark expecting to get one, but somebody's got lucky. A little slider away, setting up here.
Full count. Slider struck him out.
Here's a slider that's perfectly located. Finishes maybe a little out of the strike zone, but too close for Salvador Perez to take.
Yeah, and you know, Salvi, he's the most difficult Royal to walk. He just has 12 walks.
Escobar singled to center in the second inning, and he is also struck out. Off the end of the bat and foul. One to Escobar. They are now in the top of the seventh inning in Minnesota, and Cleveland still leads 6-0. And that got the corner. 1-2.
Kinsing loves that slider, doesn't he, Monty?
He does. He's got a good one. He's got a better fastball, I think, than he believes, but he locates a fastball well, likes to come inside with that fastball, but that slider away has really been his pitch to right-handers.
Fastball up, struck him out. Mariners pitchers have struck out 8 Royals in 5 2/3 innings.
There's that fastball up and in. Real tough pitch to lay off of.
Especially after seeing all those sliders away.
Alex tonight is 1 for 3 with a second inning single. Outside for ball 1. Seattle's bullpen has really improved, and that's really sank the Mariners early in the season. Prior to September, the Seattle Mariners had a bullpen ERA of 4.5, and they had 20 blown saves. In September, they only have 2 blown saves, and one of those was last night by Tom Wilhelms in his first blown save of the year. 3-0 on Alex. Mariners had a very good bullpen last year. Fernando Rodney set a franchise record with 48 saves. But by the middle of this year, he was out, and is now pitching for the Chicago Cubs and his one-time manager in Tampa Bay, Joe Madden. 3 balls and 1 strike.
Yeah, and that's one thing that's difficult to take for granted is a good bullpen. And unfortunately, a lot of teams don't have the luxury of what the Royals have had. The depth in the bullpen for a number of years now. It might be a different mix of guys, but very rarely you do see a team bounce back year after year with that solid bullpen.
And Lloyd McClendon is back out to make another change. So we're in the 6th inning, and he will be using his 6th pitcher. And it'll be Joe Beimel. Yikes. Royals Charities 2016 Braden's Hope Calendar featuring 12 Royals players. Manager Ned Yost and 12 children fighting cancer. And this special calendar can be purchased for just $10 at royals.com/calendar. All proceeds benefit Braden's Hope for childhood cancer. KC with KC Jr. hoping to hang one more W and hoping that Cleveland can hang on to Minnesota and the Royals can clinch their first division championship in 30 years. Joe Beimel comes on with Gordon at first base and 2 down. Ben Zobrist, batting right-handed, takes a strike.
Sinker, slider, curveball. Remember, Beimel's got that good move he pulled out yesterday on Hosmer, that little borderline balk move. Gordon not getting too far off.
Base hit right field. Alex goes first to third. Zobrist is on his way to second, and 2 in scoring position.
That's the exact swing you want on Beimel. He's going to try to go sinker sliders away. He doesn't want to come in. He's not overpowering. So he's going to try to get the guy to roll over. But Zobrist using that bottom hand. That's a beautiful swing on a ball down in the lower part of the zone. And he earned this double. See, Alex, he sees that all the way. That's a no-brainer.
And now Lorenzo Cain. Trying to pull a pitch that was off speed and away.
See if he can pull out that low cane triangle swing like he had last night to end the game. That would be a beautiful thing here.
Yeah, the last 2 nights the Royals have been exactly this situation a number of times, and finally in the 10th inning Lorenzo did pull off that little cane triangle special.
1-1. Lorenzo is 0 for 3 so far tonight. Very similar to last night's game. A lot of base runners. A lot of base runners in scoring position. Not a lot of execution, except when it really counted in the 9th and 10th innings. Two and one.
I'd be very surprised if Beimel gives Lorenzo Cain anything at all close to hit with a left-hander Eric Hosmer on deck.
And the fact that coming into this game, Lorenzo Cain hitting .333 off of lefties. But, you know, pitchers do make mistakes when they're trying to pitch around you. Let's see.
3-1. Interesting too, guys, because last night Beimel came into the game to face Hosmer, and Hosmer drove in a run with a single.
Sucre not able to figure out what they want to try to do here at 3-1. I mean, and if you're trying to work around him, might as well just put him on.
You're right. Pitchers make a lot of mistakes when they're just trying to be a little too fine. Leave a pitch out of the plate.
You better believe it.
Got the call.
Boy, this is an extreme a backdoor as you can get.
Just shaved the very corner off that strike zone.
Oh.
That's all it takes, though.
Yeah, now, I wouldn't expect him to give him anything good to hit, but, you know, we'll see.
The Royals have stranded 7 runners in the first 5 innings. Morrison to the tarp and almost caught it with a prayer-like reach. He knew the tarp was coming. He just stuck his glove out there. He almost caught it.
Yeah, last year we saw Logan Morrison make a fantastic play down that line here at the K. He had a beat on it. He had to check the tarp, and then he forgot to look back up where the ball was. Saw that tarp in his way.
Still 3-2.
Lorenzo Cain, he's in swing mode right now, so if Beimel throws anything down or out over the plate, he could get a swing and miss. And that ball was way off the plate. You see where those pitches are on the Fox tracks, everything down, away, away, away.
Breaking ball, base hit left field. 1 run home. Here's Zobrist. Safe. Cain caught in the rundown, but damage done. And Cain is out at second base. But the big hit that the Royals have been waiting for all night comes from Lorenzo Cain with 2 down in the 6th inning. He drives in Gordon, he drives in Zobrist, and he gets well over 30,000 fans out of their seats. It is 5-3 KC as the Royals want to take another look at that play at second base.
I can't believe that Joe Bima with first base open would challenge him 3-2.
Exactly.
You know, you can't sneak a piece of cheese by a hungry rat with a crowd on their feet. Playoff atmosphere. The crowd chanting, "Let's go Royals." He came through. Clutch hit. Give it up for Locaine. Clutch.
Lorenzo Cain comes up big with 2 outs. He drives in 2. And Johnny Cueto ran to the mound. He barely got back in time after the commercial break, like he couldn't wait to pitch the 7th inning with a 2-run lead. And he gets Sucre, Marte, and Seager in the top of the 7th inning. 1-2 on Sucre, who is struck out in line to left.
Boy, it's great to see that velocity, Monty. You know, he's going strong here on 96 pitches, 94 miles an hour.
You can tell that he can kind of smell the finish line. He understands what's at stake right now, wants to finish strong.
Just in case, Ryan Madsen, who is the Royals' new 7th inning pitcher with Greg Holland done for the year. Man, both ways, for crying out loud. Well, maybe that was outside.
He should have got some points for the style.
Chopped to short. 1 down. Fouled away by Marte. Well, if Cueto can give the Royals 7 innings tonight, there is no way around 7 innings, giving up 3 runs. That is a quality start, whether you want to give it the label of that or not. and a quality start on a night when Cueto's been inconsistent.
He has been inconsistent, but I still like the way he's been on the attack. This inning particularly, he's in that mode. He wants to get the ball, he wants to throw the ball and get this inning over with.
Funny, I heard you at the pregame show talking about, you want to see Cueto smile, and he looks like he's having a good time competing tonight.
Yeah, you can tell that he's got that swagger back.
He does.
He's got the intensity going too, but he's still being Johnny Cueto on the mound.
Speeding up on Marte, and Moustakas runs it down.
I don't know about you guys, but tonight this crowd is the loudest I've heard it all year long. And my ears are ringing after that inning, that last inning when Lorenzo Cain had that long at bat. And the fans were chanting, "Let's go Royals." And then when that base hit came, oh my goodness. The place is just shaking.
Seager into center field. Here comes another ovation for Johnny Cueto.
Go, Johnny, go.
So perhaps as Alex Rios, this is his 1,682nd career game. He has the most games of any active player in the big leagues without making it to the postseason. There might only be one other Royal more excited than Alex at this point, and that would be Luke Hochevar. He said that he had a smile on his face all last year, and while he felt a part of this situation and the celebration, he wasn't actually on the field playing because of Tommy John. Guys, he told me today this will mean more to him than anyone because he spent all of his recovery, all of those hard times coming back from Tommy John with this in mind. He first broke into the league in 2008. Only he and Alex Gordon have been here that long with this team. And Luke telling me, as only Luke can do, we want to win this joker, meaning the division. He said it really hasn't happened in my lifetime. He was last 2 years old when the Royals won the division. Coming up on Boulevard Royals Live, we'll break it all down. If the Royals win, we'll be inside the clubhouse, live with all of the celebration, reaction with Monty on the field. Ryan and Hud will have the post game. I'll be down there with all the celebration going on, but still 6 outs to go. One way or another, we'll be with you on Boulevard Royals Live.
All right, Joel, thank you. Eric Hosmer has a double and a home run tonight. He has hit in 7 straight. Those 87 RBIs are a career high.
Oh.
And now Jose Ramirez. Pat Hoberg, home plate umpire, keeping an eye on Hosmer, watching his reaction. And I think if Hosmer had reacted more than he did, we may have seen a warning, even though I'm sure there was no intent.
That's just the third time Hosmer's been hit this year. I mean, that's a low amount for some of his compared to some of his Royals teammates.
Morales skies it to left field. Seth Smith is there for the out. Kendrys is 0 for 3 with a walk. Jose Ramirez is Seattle's 7th pitcher tonight. Starter James Paxton came out in the 2nd inning with a torn fingernail. Mike Moustakas homered in the 2nd inning, giving him a new career high for home runs and RBIs. He has also walked and doubled. And the double may have been the hardest hit ball of the game. Almost hit it through the chain link fence in right field.
I'm telling you. It had some giddy up on it.
Sucre coming up throwing as Hosmer took a couple of steps towards second, but then hit the brakes. Two and one. Three balls and one strike. Most of the night, the Royals had plenty of scoring opportunities. They just could not get the big hit. They stranded 7 in the first 5 innings. And they had 2 on with 2 out in the 6th inning when Lorenzo Cain got that big hit and hit a 2-run single to left field against Beimel. And that's ball 4, and Moustakas walks for a 2nd time. After losing an 11-game hitting streak last night, Alex Rios is 1 for 3 tonight. Base hit center field. Hosmer will be waved home. Moustakas will go to third. Rios goes to second. It is 6-3.
What a perfect swing. Anytime you can line a ball up the middle like that, you are right on it. Rios. And Miller's throw, he tried to throw out a runner at home and he missed the cutoff man, and both runners advanced up and moved up. Look at that. That's a pretty swing. Biggest hole on the diamond right there. And Hosmer, he had it easily. Miller missed the cutoff man. Now the infielder's got to come in. Less than 2 outs. Salvi looking for a sac fly or better.
He is 1 for 3 so far tonight with a 2nd inning single. 2-0. Royals started tonight 0 for 4 with runners in scoring position. And now 4 for their last 6. Escobar is on deck, and there is nobody warming up in the Mariners bullpen. And now the Mariners are going to put Salvador Perez on. They learned their lesson last inning, but we thought they were trying to pitch around Lorenzo Cain with an open base. Bimo made a mistake, and it cost the Mariners 2 runs. And now Rick Waits, Mariners pitching coach.
We were talking about that at bat. Monty and I were about how sometimes when you're trying to pitch around a guy, you make a mistake, and Lorenzo Cain was all over it. He was already in swing mode, fouling off several pitches.
Grand slam was against last night's starting pitcher Roenis Elias last year in Seattle, and now the bases are loaded against Jose Ramirez.
I think Heskey, he'll just take a nice lousy single somewhere, keep the line moving.
Good pitch over the outside, 0-1. With that fastball, 1 ball, 1 strike.
He's got some good life, but he likes that changeup.
Two and one.
Super, he had a tough ball to handle there, and you got to have soft hands if you're a catcher, that's for sure. If you're stiff, the ball kicks out and bounces away. $32,244 here tonight. No double play. Another run scores. It is 7-3. Escobar digging hard. He was already leaning out of that box. No way you're going to take that ribby from him. Good hustle. He earned it.
Ball 1 to Alex. He is 1 for 3 tonight. He also has a walk and a run scored. Rios is at third. Escobar is at first. The Royals have scored 4 runs in the last 2 innings. How about a Mazda game break? Let's go to Target Field. Minnesota is trying to make a game out of this. It is now 6-3 Cleveland going to the 9th inning. That's Eddie Rosario with a 2-run home run in the bottom of the 8th. Grounded foul outside of third base. Good swing, 1-2.
He's got a good level swing now. When he was in that little 0 for 22, he had a little bit more of an angle and an uppercut. Looked like he was trying to do too much and lift. And now he's leveled it off a little bit. Working on staying on top of that top hand. That's a good level swing.
Johnny Cueto has gone 7. He gave up just 3 runs. Seattle for a while going one reliever after another. It was working. They allowed just 2 runs in the first 4 innings. Escobar runs. Gordon strikes out, and that ends the bottom of the 7th inning. The Royals get 2 more. We go to the 8th. The Royals lead is 4. Is brought to you by AT&T U-verse high-speed internet. The U-verse revolves around you. Call 1-800-PIC-ATT. By your Midwest Ford dealers. Visit yourmidwestforddealers.com. And by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Right stuff, low price every day. Ryan Madson comes on for the 8th inning. The Royals lead 7-3. Johnny Cueto goes 7 innings. He gives up 3 runs. Here are the sprint cuts of the game.
It's so nice to see Johnny Cueto being himself, showing some confidence. This big double play here in the 1st inning really helped him. Well, that was early in the game, wasn't the 1st. Anyway, that good pitch is down. He had 1 inning where he left a few up, but other than that, Cueto looked creative, had the rocket chair working, and had this crowd abuzz.
What a great year for Ryan Madson. And remember the debate at the end of spring training as to whether the Royals would keep Madson or go with a young lefty named Brian Flynn. And he makes a nifty defensive play to begin the top of the 8th inning.
Yep, this is right on his glove side. Glove happened to be right there. He'll take it. Cuthbert liked it.
Now Robinson Cano. Told that great story early in the season about Ryan Madson. Remember how good his changeup was. And you know, sometimes you ask a player about a pitch and there's really no story behind it, but Ryan Madson had a wonderful story about his changeup. There was no swing, 1 ball, 1 strike. When Ryan was a little kid, like a lot of fathers, he would not allow Ryan to throw a curveball, so they would play catch in the backyard, and Ryan could throw a fastball and a changeup, and that was it. But his changeup really wasn't that great. And there it is. He had a Little League teammate whose grandfather was named Fletch, and that's all that Ryan remembered, Fletch. And one day at Little League practice, Fletch taught him how to throw a changeup. This was in Little League. He learned it in Little League. It got him through high school, turned him into a professional. It made him a big leaguer. It made him a major league closer. 1 hop to Zobrist, and there are 2 down. Well, as life goes, you lose track of people and friends, and Ryan Madson never forgot Fletch. Thanks to Fletch, Ryan was able to support his family, made a lot of money as a major leaguer, and wondered what happened, thought maybe he had passed away. And then one day, out of the clear blue sky, Ryan's wife Sarah got a Facebook message from a lady who said, I wonder if Ryan remembers an older fella whose grandson played with him in Little League. And they got excited, and Ryan said, was his name Fletch? And the girl on the other end said, yes, he's still alive. And right before Fletch passed away, Ryan got to meet him and thank him personally for the pitch that he learned in Little League that changed his life.
That's unbelievable. Love to hear stories like that.
A scene out of a movie.
It is. Oh. Well, that pitch is equally effective to left-handers and right-handers, and he's been certainly in line for a comeback player of the year.
1-2 on Seth Smith. There's that changeup. Well, we know that lady behind home plate thought about this pitch, Hud.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, she's not the umpire.
No, she's got it right. You only get the got to go. Usually it's the opponents, always, never our guys. And it's on a called third.
3-2. They are on their way to the bottom of the 9th inning. Cleveland leading Minnesota 6-3. The Indians hang on. The Royals' magic number is 1. Smith walks with 2 outs. Mark Trumbo gave Johnny Cueto a bad time tonight. He singled and scored in the 2nd inning and then hit a 2-run double in the 4th. And that double put Seattle ahead until the Royals tied it in the 5th on Hosmer's home run, and then the Royals scored 2 in the 6th and 2 more in the 7th.
Yep, talking with Mariners hitting coach Edgar Martinez, he said, when I asked him who was the strongest guy on his team, he said, this guy right here, Mark Trumbo, without a doubt. This guy can hit balls anywhere in the ballpark from foul pole to foul pole with a lot of distance.
There's the changeup, 1 ball, 2 strikes.
You know, it's just that the same arm speed as that fastball, and that fastball from Matson now that he's been rested at 97, it's just so hard for a hitter to be able to lay off of that. That's just perfectly executed down in the zone. See what Salmi calls for here.
He did, and not a bad spot. Had him reaching. Kane sprints in. He's got it. Perhaps 3 more defensive outs to go.
(7-3) Royals lead the Mariners as we head to the bottom of the 8th inning, and then 3 outs to go and 2 outs to go in Minnesota. Panera takes us around the league. Big win for Texas. Yankees were able to beat Chris Sale. Cleveland, there you have it, with 1 out in the 9th, and Cody Allen on for the save. So we will update you as that happens, and right now 1 out and 2 to go in Minnesota. Cody Allen, the closer, on. So that, guys, I imagine will provide yet more electricity if that one goes final here shortly and is posted on the board.
All right, Joel, thank you. The Royals scored 2 against Jose Ramirez in the 7th inning. He stays on in the 8th. And 3-1 on Zobrist. He has scored twice, both times after reaching with a double. Now to Marte, off of his knee, and Zobrist is on. Error on Marte. It's the Mariners' 2nd error tonight.
Now Zobrist with another nice swing, hitting that ball hard, and it came up and bit Marte. That second hop was a tough one. And sometimes when you're not moving your feet and you're stationary like that, that ball will play you. Want to be moving into it a little bit or back off of it.
Lorenzo Cain takes a strike. He turned the game around with 2 outs in the 6th inning. Driving in Zobrist and Gordon, turning a 3-3 game into a 5-3 Royals lead, and the Royals added 2 more in the next inning. That is a foul ball. And 0-2.
The most dramatic at bat of the night. On the 8th pitch, Lorenzo Cain singled to left field off a Bimel. Some kind of at bat. Battling, competing, and winning. It's nothing better. There it is, 6th inning. Oh, it was a breaking ball. Looked like it was a fastball, but still, it was not located where he wanted it to. 3-2 count on the 8th pitch. A beauty.
Still 0-2. Royals' magic number is 1. It is a final in Minnesota. Ground ball, base hit right field. Boy, we have a crowd tonight of over 32,000, and I think 15,000 at least were keeping an eye on that game, because as we were telling you over the air, the crowd began to erupt. So they know that the Royals are in control of their own destiny tonight.
Man, I'm going to tell you what, in the age we're living with all these smartphones, these people are educated on everything. They didn't even put it up on the board. They just didn't put it on the outfield wall. They didn't put it up on a big, beautiful jumbotron here.
Now more fans see the final as it's posted on the left field wall. Minnesota turned it into a game. Cleveland had a 6-0 lead at the end of 3, and the final was 6-3. In fact, Minnesota out-hit Cleveland 11-9, but Cleveland wins and avoids the sweep. Very high in the air. Morrison tiptoes over the line and then back against or across the line again. 1 down. Johnny Gomes will bat for Kendrys Morales.
Johnny Gomes is 8 for 31 with a pinch hit home run as a pinch hitter in his National League season this year with the Braves. He's 0 for 2 as a pinch hitter in Royal Blue. You know, every time Gomes gets in there, watch him tug on his cap. Watch him tug on the bill of that cap. 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5 little tugs he does. And I asked him about that. I said, you know, why do you do that? And
there's a take the out at first. Close. 2 down.
Good hustle. And he said that he's done that since he's been in amateur ball. And he said he had a picture a guy sent him of him pulling on his cap when he was just a young kid in high school. So he's always done that. You know, all hitters have their own fetishes, you know, about, you know, Lorenzo Cain with his batting gloves, and Johnny Gomes, he just pulls that cap down. It's a habit. I've never seen anybody do that before like that.
Mike Moustakas is working on a perfect night. A home run, 2 walks, a double, 2 runs scored, an RBI, and brand new career highs for home runs and runs driven in. Strike 1. Still 0-2. Johnny Cueto went 7 and gave up 3 runs. How do you smuggle those in here?
I think it's a beautiful thing. There's no doubt about that.
That could drop, and it will, and it's worth 2 more.
That man loves Moose, and so does that man, Ned Yost. And so, yes, they do all even out. Miller playing extremely deep. Moose took a good pass on him, and the way he's been hitting that ball, I don't blame Miller. He took a step back, and then that ball just fell in. A couple of nice ribbies for Moose.
2-0 on Rios. He has a 2-hit game and he's driven in a run. Miller is back. Still back. Here comes Moustakas. Rios will go to third. And the Royals have scored 7 runs in the last 3 innings.
When it rains, it pours. Rios staying hot. Miller had a beat on it and just got off the end of his glove. And Alex Rios really coming on strong. Gets his second triple of his season. And to keep his hitting streak alive at 11, on his last at-bat a few games ago, he hit the same kind of ball. Miller went straight back on it, but just couldn't bring it home.
Well, we mentioned it earlier in the game that at some point Lloyd McClendon was going to point to the bullpen and somebody was going to come through that gate who did not have his A game. And as it turns out, it's the last 4 relievers he's pointed to. They've all allowed runs, no more than Jose Ramirez, who's on the mound right now. Up the middle to Marte. 3 outs to go. 10-3 Royals to the top of the 9th inning.
Waiter will take a couple of yellow hammers and a side of cheese to go to the postseason.
Rewind back just 2 days from 1 year ago when the Royals were in the postseason for the first time in 29 years. That was as a wild card. Tonight they're trying to get in as a division champion for the first time in 30 years.
Oh, it's exciting. The crowd, they've been on their feet for 3 innings. Ned Yost pacing that dugout.
But Wade Davis comes on with a 7-run lead. He has only allowed 7 runs all year.
How about that? I don't think the Mariners have much of a chance, and there's Holland watching.
Okay, we'll just put it on ice for a few more moments. Logan Morrison Well, he didn't get it in the water.
Yeah. That's what he wanted.
But the Kansas City Kid has his second home run at Kauffman Stadium to make it 10-4. Well, now he's allowed 8 runs this year.
That's just the 3rd home run in 2 years that Davis has given up. How about that?
Three and one. Lloyd McClendon has used 7 pitchers. Ned Yost is using just his 3rd pitcher. Cueto went 7. Madsen went 1. And now a walk.
Non-save situation. We've mentioned it many times. It's not the same type of adrenaline for a guy like Davis.
Sean O'Malley will hit for Jesus Sucre. Oh, and 1. Fastball, 0-2. $32,244, and almost every one of them on their feet. He was able to check 1 ball, 2 strikes. To go. Ketel Marte 1 for 3 tonight. He had a bunch single in the 1st inning and walked in the 5th. One and 1. Question was asked to Ned Yost how he thought Wade Davis would handle being a closer. And if you haven't followed the team closely, it's easy to forget that he has 13 saves. All those nights when Greg Holland was not available, Davis was the guy. 1 and 2. I guess the only adjustment would be he is the guy now, and it's not on a temporary basis. He is the anchor man on the relay team, if you will. He is the last man to grab the baton. Finally, 1 out to go. 2 down in the 9th inning.
In Ned we trust. Woohoo! It's at that time of year again, folks.
Fans waited 29 years to see the Royals in the playoffs. They got in and clinched a spot on game 160 and then ended up in game 7 of the World Series. But they've waited 30 years for the Royals to win a division. And the magic number is 1, as in 1 out. And now the magic number is 1 strike. On the ground to Hosmer. Davis to the bag. Magic number 0. The Royals are the 2015 American League Central Division champions.
Congratulations, 2015 Royals. And look at the front office. Congratulations to you guys, too. Unbelievable run. Well, it is believable. With the talent that they've assembled here, you can believe it.
And you know what? As close as they came last year to winning the World Series, a lot of people felt like they had a chip on their shoulder because some predicted them to finish 2nd, some 3rd, some even 4th. But I never felt like they got caught up in that at all. They just wanted to get back to the World Series. They believed they could win the division. And who would have imagined that the lead would be so big that the Royals would be clinching on game number 152?
No one would have believed that. Waiter, check, please.
Technically, it's the first time since 1981 that the Royals are in the postseason in back-to-back years. It's the second time that the Royals are the first team in Major League Baseball to win the division. They also did it in 1980. And as we have discussed many times, the comparison between that team and this team, that 1980 team had an 8-game losing streak headed to the final stretch, and this Royals team had a stretch that we believe they are breaking out of, as they have won back-to-back games for the first time since early September. But all that matters tonight is that the Royals are Central Division champs. Let's go down to the field and check in with Joel.
Well, the celebration is just getting underway, and joined right now by one of the big heroes of the night, Mike Moustakas, getting it done. First division title for this team since 1985. What does this mean to you and, of course, to Kansas City?
It means a ton. I mean, this team battled all throughout the entire year. You know, we never gave up, never stopped, kept playing hard. And, you know, you can't say enough about every guy on this team. I mean, came out every single day ready to play.
Salvi Perez is in the house.
Huh? So excited, Bubba. Let's do it again, you know? We're going to play hard and we'll see what happens.
How good does it feel to get this step done? I know you've been waiting for a while.
It feels great. You know, it feels great to come out here and win a ball game, and you know that we're going back to the playoffs again. And you know, we go out there every night and we play hard for you guys in the stands. We play hard for each other. You know, we're one big family out here in Kansas City, and we go out every day and prove it.
Salvi, it's been since 1985. Here you go.
Thank you, Fang. Best Fang ever. Thank you.
That is the first of many Gatorade and soon to come champagne celebrations. Guys, we're going to have one more interview for you coming up here in just a moment. Eric Hosmer is going to come over and join us. There we go. Eric Hosmer, division champions, American League Central crown, in front of a loud and raucous crowd. Congratulations. Put into words what this means to all of you.
It's a great feeling, you know, leaving spring training. This is the goal, to win a division and get back into the postseason. And, you know, we got a lot of work left. This is step one, but we're going to enjoy this one.
I was going to ask you about that. Hopefully a lot of celebrations coming, but how important is it to be able to enjoy each step of the way with the amount of work you put in?
It's very special. You know, it's a long season, and, you know, breaking spring training, that's your goal. You know, you want to break and do whatever you can to win a division. And it's the first time in Kansas City. We're glad to bring it here.
Eric Hosmer, congratulations. We have one more guest here on the field that we want to bring in. And a pleasure to visit right now with the manager of the American League Central Division champion, manager Ned Yost. Your Kansas City Royals win their first division title in 30 years. How special?
Well, it's very special. And, you know, there's like 25 guys on this team that weren't even born the last time that the Royals won a championship. So, and to be able to do it in front of our fans, you guys have been fantastic all year long. You're right there with us every pitch. We can't do it without you. Thank you so much.
Ned, congratulations. Go and enjoy it with your team.
Thank you, Joel.
Ned Yost and the Kansas City Royals, they're going to celebrate. The fans are going to celebrate. And we will be in there in the clubhouse, Ryan, with all of the action coming up.
Well, we are way beyond what many fans felt about Ned Yost, and yet I think you and I had the same reaction in the wild card game when he went out to the mound to bring in Kelvin Herrera after he had brought in Yordano Ventura. I had never heard anybody get booed. Well, maybe Robinson Cano during the home run hitting contest.
That's right.
I had never heard anybody get booed like Ned Yost did. And before Joel could even say Ned Yost's name, just his face up on the screen, and Joel said Royals manager, and a huge ovation here at Kauffman Stadium. Good for him. You know, he did a lot of things that didn't make sense to the fans, but he had the big picture in mind. And we'll never be able to get Ned to talk about that. And yet, in less than a year, the reaction from the crowd, the polar opposite, is just kind of took my breath away for a moment.
It was warm. There's no question about it, and he deserves it. He's taken this team to places that this Royals fans have never believed they could even get to. He did it last year, and guess what? It's on again. Love to see that plastic spread all over those lockers. There's Joel getting ready to get wet. And it's very, very impressive how they did it with all their talent that they've assembled.
And there goes Luke Hochevar, and Joel talked a lot about him tonight, how Luke last year in spring training, how heartbreaking it was for him to say he wouldn't be a part of the dog pile when the Royals celebrated going to the playoffs. That's how much he believed they were going to go. And not only did they go, there were several dog piles and several celebrations, and Luke was right in the middle of it. But now telling Joel how much it means to him to contribute on the field and then be part of the celebration on the field. Great bounce back for him. That away. Hey, you never know with the way the Royals celebrated with the fans here at Kauffman Stadium. HUD, that leaves one celebration. We had a wild card celebration here. We had a division series celebration here. We had a championship series celebration here. Now we've had a division championship series here. That leaves just one.
Yep. And that's the main prize. They're on their way.
Is that Volquez trying to get into his locker?
Good luck.
How about Edinson Volquez?
Oh, been fabulous. You know, more than people thought, for sure. But, you know, to eat up the innings, to have, you know, those kind of numbers, the consistency, you know, it's only going to get exciting to see how he can perform in October.
Royals had significant losses from last year, even though they returned the main core. But the loss of James Shields, many in the industry thought they needed to go out and get somebody of his caliber. The Royals thought that Volquez was of his caliber. Many disagreed and just kind of yawned at that signing. Volquez has been for the Royals what James Shields was last year. There's Kendrys Morales. Many felt the same way about Kendrys Morales. The Royals were last in the major leagues in home runs. They were in the bottom half of the league in runs scored. Kendrys Morales, and that's not enough. Well, that was way more than enough.
You better believe it.
That's
all those.
Jeff Davenport, the Royals, and Pat Gorman. They're the two lieutenants in the Royals clubhouse, helping out with the biggest bottle of champagne I've ever seen.
Can you believe that? Look at that.
And there's more than one of them. Come on, Davy.
Come on.
Good for them.
I love it. Matson, no goggles.
Johnny Cueto, 5 straight rough starts, and in his last 2, 7 innings, 2 runs, 7 innings, 3 runs.
There you go. That's exactly what they're looking for. And you know, folks got a little nervous, but that's baseball, and it's just impossible to stay on top of your game at the highest level in the world. You're going to get beat at times, but they stayed with him. Salvador Perez made some adjustments behind that plate for him, and he's back.
The celebration is just beginning, and so are we. We expect it to be a late night, and that's just fine by us. Wade Davis covering at first base on a ground ball to Hosmer, making it official. The Royals are 2015 American League Central Division champions, and we'll be back here on Fox Sports Kansas City. Stay with us.